Hello everyone, welcome to Blue Dragon Actual. So this is my interview series, episode 3. Last week I was not well, so I was not able to post a video on the weekend. But I'm continuing with my normal, series. And maybe today or tomorrow there will be other video on the discount rate, possibly today. So I till now I have not released two videos on the same day, but maybe today because I've made a promise, right? I always keep my promises. So maybe today. Okay, so as you can see, the title of this video is Weakness of an Actuary. Now, why this is important for interview? Because if you do not have this weakness, then it's easier for you to crack an interview, right? So if you have this weakness, obviously it is slightly difficult for you to crack any interview. And these are kind of commonplace, actual issues, right? Other than this, there would be one more point, which is a generally accepted weakness of an actuary, and I'll mention that at the end of the video. Although I'm not, I don't personally believe that that is an weakness of actuary, but that's why I've not included that in the slide. But I would try to, I'll kind of include that at the end of the video, like which is a generally accepted weakness. So moving on, the first point is related to nature. Now, by very nature, actuaries, who are the person who became actuaries, like who goes into the senior position, etc. So people who are actually kind of thinking about actuary at this point of time are usually those person who are good in their studies. They have uh, scored at least 85 to 90% in today's date. In our time, I think 80% was a great percentage, but I think today's date 95% is probably a good percentage. Probably a 10-year equivalent of 80% would be a 95% today's date. So by that very nature, actuaries are like usually people who are kind of pursuing actuaries have good marks, and but because of that they are risk averse people. So they know only one thing, that they uh, have been brilliant in their academic journey. They have left their peers behind, and this somehow creates a risk averse nature. So they refuse to take risk because they believe that they have sacrificed a lot in the previous, right? Obviously when you are kind of scoring more than 80%, 85%, 90%, then you have studied for a long time, right? Otherwise it's impossible to get to that percentage. So beyond a particular time you are not inclined to take risk, you are saying. And actuaries also learn that in the studies, prudent concept and every other thing which are kind of related to prudence. So by that very nature, actuaries are risk averse people. So if you usually your nature would be a risk averse, that is possibly also one of the reason that you are selecting actuary as a profession, because you understand that this profession pays well, and this is not something that is going to go obsolete in future. So if I clear 15 papers over a period of time, there is a chance that I'll be making good money, and I'll also be living a good life. So that's also probably the reason that you have kind of selected actuary, right? However, what this means that when it comes to risk, the actuary struggle here, the decision making, right? So I think in my experience, I have seen most of the actuaries who went to senior level, they are kind of poor decision makers, especially when it comes to taking new risk. For example, introducing an innovative product. How many of you, have seen an innovative product in Indian market? Very few, very few. Most of the products will be copies from maybe UK or any other country. We ourselves has not created any product which is very new, very innovative. Maybe a combination of general insurance and life insurance, although regulation might not allow that. But if the regulation does, have we thought in that direction, right? I think the products that we have are very plain vanilla kind of simple product, and mostly the maximum innovation that we have done is we have linked a product to an index, and when the index goes up you will get the return, right? Otherwise the products are fairly simple to understand. If you have worked in any core company, you will see, and if you have switched from one core company to other core company, you will see the same products are copied and just the name are changed. So, and another thing that kind of contribute to that is or kind of justify that is when I started my career in life insurance, not in actuary though. I started my corporate career in 2012, and at that point of time it was said that the life insurance penetration in India is 4% only, and that's why there is huge potential. And I think today also the life insurance penetration would be 5%, only increment of 1% only. So all these people taking crores of package, different, different companies, different product, they only increase the penetration percentage by 1% in 10 years. That shows that the lack of innovation, right? So that's where actuaries are certainly risk averse people. And if you are a person who would be taking bit of risk, you will stand apart from the crowd. However, there is a problem there also, because that might, if you are taken as a more of a risk taker, you might land into some controversies and some trouble. So then there your reputation might get damaged, something which is kind of maybe prevalent for me, because I'm quite vocal about my opinion and everything. So there might be people who would be, who would not know me, but they might have a image about me, right? So if I want to switch to a different company, I might face some issues, right? That might happen. However, there might be some people who would be liking those posts, and would be maybe would be liking those risk taking abilities that I possess, and they might like me for that, and that might also ease my switching process. They already have a body of work to verify that I have the knowledge, right? They can see my YouTube videos, right, which they cannot see for others. But that might also go against me. So that is something that would make you stand apart from the crowd if you are not that risk averse. But that is also something that might go against you. But in any case, you would have a reputation of your own. You would be known in the industry, and I believe in the long run it would be beneficial for you. It would help you rather than not helping you, right? So I don't I don't have anything to say against risk averseness, but too much of risk averseness, too much of prudence in the nature might hamper your personal growth. And that's why it is probably important that you are not extremely risk averse, and that should come off in the interview, that you are not extremely risk averse. You have not taken every decision by the book. You have gone out of the book and you have tried something that is slightly more riskier, and that probably has, even if that has not given you any dividends till now, you have got some learning and you are willing to show that approach, right? That will make you stand apart from the crowd. So nature. Secondly, as I keep on mentioning, this is one slide, like I created a presentation in the Actuaries Day, that is power of an actuary. This slide was present there as well. Knowledge is power. In actual world, knowledge is really the power. Very few people have knowledge, and that's why no matter how much bad reputation you probably have, if you have knowledge, because there is a dearth of knowledge in the actual industry, there would be too many actuaries. There might be many actuaries who have passed the papers, the term that I've coined, paper actuaries. There are too many of those in the industry, but very few people of those actuaries would have true knowledge or true decision making power, right? So that's why knowledge is power. If you have knowledge, you would be eventually, there would be no dearth of you, no dearth of opportunities for you, and you would command the salary that you want, you command the rating that you want, and you would command the designation that you want. So in actually this is very important. So in my past experience, what I've seen is people who have scored 90% or more than 90% in economics honors failed or struggled to give a single point about how to control inflation. I have asked question about reserve from a person who have uh, highest mark in CT5, and that person has failed to give the formula for reserve. I have asked about Greeks, option Greeks, to a person who has just cleared CM2 and scored more than 80% and struggled to give CM2, and the coaching center advertises their name like this person. I am very glad to say that this person has passed from my coaching center scoring 80% or highest mark. There is a trend in LinkedIn saying that I have passed CP1 or CP2 scoring the highest mark. Very glad to share that. I'm thrilled to share that. But all those thrilled and glad and everything goes for a toss if you can't answer a question in an interview. And if you that knowledge that you have displayed in exam is not displayed in an interview. And the reason is very simple. You can clear an exam even without rating the knowledge, because you understand the process of clearing the exam. You have, say, practiced 20 types of problem, and you have regurgitated those problems or solutions when you have found a similar problem, especially in IFA. Because of mathematical typing, the question level has gone down, and because of that, it's much easier to clear those questions. So people with limited in preparation also, with some practice, they can clear the paper, but they would lack the knowledge. And that lacking of knowledge would be cumulative, because once a person who has limited knowledge clears CM1, then that person believe that with that same limited knowledge, that person can clear CM2, and with the same limited knowledge, the person can clear, say, SP1, right? And that's why that that nature of the person changes, the mindset of that person changes, and the person eventually becomes a person who clears the paper but retains nothing of it, or retains very limited amount of it. So that's why in actual world it is very important that you have knowledge, and you constantly keep on increasing your knowledge. It's your actual journey only starts when you become a fellow. After that, you probably need to work on your coding, you probably need to work decision making, you probably need to work on how you make your juniors more comfortable working with you. So it's learning is a continuous process. It never ends, and more so for actually you have to keep on reinventing yourself. Maybe data science, machine learning would be something that actuaries would be interested in, and after you have become a fellow, maybe why not explore that field and see how you can incorporate the learnings of that field into actuary, right? So learning never stops. How can you augment your learning? How can you make yourself more relevant and more contemporary to today's world is what you should be striving for. And that's what actually teaches you that even while working, you have to clear papers, you have to learn, you have to study. And that's why actuaries are different from others, because for them the learning is only on job. They don't have to read a book, they don't have to solve questions. But for actuaries, they have to do that, right? Their life is slightly more difficult. They cannot have weekend parties every month or every week, right? So that's why we need to kind of reinventing ourselves and be contemporary. Next point, which is very important for any financial certification, not only for actuary, is to learn coding. As for example, if you are interested in the stock market, you need to know coding to write your own algo, right? So that you can automate your trading. If you are into say a banking, investment banking sort of role, then also you need to know coding. In actuaries, recently the institute has kind of introduced R. Now, R is a dying language. Nobody uses R these days, but Python is very important. There is multiple libraries in Python from which you can do anything in Python. You can do HTML coding, you can do Java coding, you can do R coding in fact in Python as well. So coding is very important. And if you know one language, learning about other language becomes easier. And in any financial certification, because financial certification, we only learn the principles or the concepts, but in order to do that in practice, we need a software. And that's why we need to understand the workings of that software. In fact, in life insurance, the very difference between a fresher and experienced person lies in the software, like Profit, GGO Access. These are very costly softwares, and you need to understand the coding that is going behind to understand how the software is working, right? It will not be your normal formula for calculating reserve. It would be a different sort of formula. So you have to understand how that is happening. And in order to understand that, you got to understand coding. In my interviews, I have asked people, so they have written that Excel, VBA, etc. So I have asked people, how how much would you rate yourself out of 10, 10 being the highest? And they say 5, 6. So if you are writing 5, 6, if you are giving yourself 5, 6, why put that in your CV? You should be able to say 7 or 8. And when you are saying 7 or 8, you should be able to back it up. In fact, for Excel is so huge. More than 7 would be very difficult to say. Like I have Excel expert certification from Microsoft only. And even after that, even after knowing hundreds of formulas in Excel, I can only claim that I know maybe 70% of Excel, because Excel is vast, Excel is huge. And as I mentioned, Excel is reinventing itself, right? There is no software which is more powerful than Excel, but there is a limitation for Excel. Excel can handle only a certain amount of data. That's why the other software like SQL, SAS, this has a Python, they have come into picture. Otherwise, Excel is the most powerful software that I've seen in my life, and I do know a lot of software, a lot of coding. So so if you want to say that you have learned, you want to give yourself 7 in Excel, you probably want to know about array formulas in Excel. You probably want to know about the time formulas in Excel, and there are so many things, right? There's so many things that you can do. So you need to understand that. You need to know to not only to edit VBA codes but to create VBA codes. You need to know what is the difference between a function and sub procedure, right? So all this should be very crystal clear to you. So I have asked people who have given themselves a rating of 7 or 8 in Excel VBA, and they have struggled in answering Excel VBA questions. So that means they don't know, and few people are very to took very pride to say kind of that I don't write code in VBA, but I can edit code in VBA using Google. So then that would mean that you are average or below average. A person who knows how to create a code in VBA from scratch would be much better, right? And in fact, in VBA, you have an option to record your actions. So, the code will be automatically created. So it's very easy to create code in VBA. You just need that hang of things. You need to understand why a code is working and also how you can debug a code, because a code might be working in a different way and you want it to work in a different way. There might be an error coming and you need to debug that, right? So most of our time as an actuary is spent on understanding what the software is doing and why the software is producing a result which is not as per expectation, how we can debug that, why a zero is coming where some number should be coming, right? So in order to understand that, we have to understand what is going in the background, and that can only be clear to you, that intuition would be clear to you when you understand the coding, right? So coding is very, very important, and if you are mentioning coding in your CV, then that should mean that you are good in that. You should not be average person in coding and say that I know coding or put that in your CV. You should be very good in coding to write that in your CV. Otherwise, don't mention coding. If you are a fresher, probably people would not expect that from you. But over a period of time, if you want to become a good actuary, you have to learn this. Also, what I've seen for slightly more experienced candidate interviewing them is they are clueless about their previous experience. Recently, I was interviewing a person from WNS who has worked in the asset side, and I have asked multiple questions from asset liability management because that person has worked in the asset side, even for what types of products are invested for, say, a term portfolio. That person was clueless. He was doing the work day in and day out on a process basis. He have not understood why that process is important. The why part was completely missing. He knows how to do it, like this Excel, and from this Excel copy this and paste it here, and from here do this. So because our mind is sort of trained in that manner, as I mentioned, we are actually the people who have scored more than 90% throughout their career. So they know how to score marks, but they don't know why they have scored marks. That's the problem. They know how to solve a limit problem, but they don't know why that limit problem exists in the first place. So that's where the difference lies. The difference between better and a best lies there. The better person knows the how, and the best person knows the why. So you have to be very clear in your previous experience, like why you have done something, how is it contributing to the bigger picture, how is your work being reflected in the disclosures of the company. Probably you have to understand the disclosures of the company to understand why actuaries are doing something, why actuaries are creating calculating reserves, whether reserve actually exist, right? Whether asset, how the company is kind of generating asset, why the shareholder is getting return. All this should be like this. These should be questions that you should be asking yourself, and you should not settle until you get a good answer for this, right? Then only you will be able to clear this, come to this interview, appear for this interviews with very confidence, with a lot of confidence. So what I've seen that people are, especially in the KPO sector or the BPO sector, people are very process driven, and because of that they have cleared papers, they have worked for 4 years, but within themselves they know that they need support. They can't probably carry a process on their own because they only know how of the process, they don't know why of that process. And you need to know why of the process, you need to know why you are doing something. the bigger picture. That is very, very important. Moving on. One of the things that we test in an interview is to see if the person can think on spot. As for example, if I ask a normal formula for reserve, most of the people would be able to answer that. But if I ask what happens if the mortality increases, what happened to the reserve, right? Then you need to think on spot and you need to give an answer on spot, right? Suppose someone says the reserve increases, so then I can ask another question like, can you give me a situation where mortality increases but reserve decreases, right? Whether that situation is even possible. So you have to think on spot, and that thinking can only happen if you know that why part, right? If you have just memorized the formula and you have just copied pasted what you have memorized in excel in your exam, then you are not, then your mindset is completely different. If you have done it for 3 4 papers, then your mindset has completely changed. Then by that time you are appearing for that interview, you will not be able to answer this question. And that's what I've seen for hundreds of people, especially the people who are kind of clearing papers in last 2 years after the COVID. They are mostly like that. So you need to have the ability to think on spot, and it is okay to give an incorrect answer, right? Nobody's like in an interview scenario, people might be stressed, and because of that they might give an incorrect answer, but you need to back your answer with logic. Like, this is the reason I'm thinking of this, right? An interviewer will try to help you to come to the right answer because you have shown that potential, right? The interviewer will try to help you, but you have to kind of think on spot and give logic for that thinking. Otherwise you will only be guessing, you will only be playing a lottery, right? You will only be gambling on your answer. You will just pray for the answer to be correct, and really that happen. Prayers rarely work, but your effort will always work. Moving on, probably the last point of this slide, which is very, very important and where I think uh, people lack mostly, is the rigidity. So as for example, the WNS person that I was kind of mentioning, I tried to help that person multiple times when that person was giving a wrong answer, but that person was sticking to his wrong answer. He was not listening to my hints, he was not listening to the logic or the counter logic that I was giving, but that person was saying, no, no, I know this, and this is the right answer. So in an interview cannot be that. You should have a balance between rigidity and flexibility. If you are too flexible, then also it will appear that you don't know much of the subject and you are swinging where I am swinging you, right? If I am telling you go right, you are going right, and you have no thought process. But if you are too rigid, then also that's a problem, because you are like, when you will be working on your own, then there will be situations where uh, you don't have any clue how to do it. I, being your manager, also have no clue how to do it, but we have to come to a solution, or we have to figure that problem out, right? In that case, your opinion matter, but also your flexibility matter, because I might have a different approach for that, and you might have a different approach, or maybe completely contradictory approach to mine. So you are welcome to express your opinion, but if my approach is better, then you have to accept that your approach is not better. So that flexibility should be there. You should be, so when you are thinking on spot, and if you are thinking incorrectly, you should be flexible enough to catch the hint, to change your answer accordingly, right? And you should have the heart to accept that, yeah, I am wrong. In this case, I am wrong. So whatever I was telling earlier, that was wrong, but this, because based on the hint that you have just told me, based on that, this is the correct answer, right? So if you are not able to do that, then it would be a bad fit for the culture of any company, right? So you need to be very, very flexible. And if you want to kind of move towards a particular direction between rigidity and flexibility, I'll say move towards flexibility. Give yourself the chance to be wrong. Right? Don't say that I know everything of everything and I am the best person in the world. The world will say that if you are that person. So you don't have to say that. You don't have to shout at the top of your voice. If you want to err, please err on the flexibility side, right? Don't go to the rigid side. Be flexible, be humble, and understand what hint the interviewer is giving, and you would be able to do well in any interview. And finally, the last point, most of the people, like, this is my one of my favorite topic. Also in my power of actuary slide, I included this slide. So you need to understand why you are doing actually. My reason was very simple. I like predicting, and that's why actually was the only thing that was kind of mathematically involved with prediction. So that's why it made sense to me. Your reason for doing actually might be different, but you have to understand that 1 crore package or higher package that will follow only if you have knowledge. If you are different from others, right, you will not get the highest rating. If you are like everyone else, then you will get the average rating. So if you are different from others, if you have the ability to carry a project on their own, basically if you are doing the job that your manager is supposed to do, then you will get promotion, right? Because then you have already overcome the challenges of the level that you are working in, right? So in that case, you will require knowledge, and that knowledge might be not only technical knowledge, but as I mentioned, the coding skill, the technical knowledge, how to manage people, how to communicate with others, right? So all this thing would be very, very important. So if you have excelled in those areas, then 1 crore package is only some that is a very trivial. Like I mentioned, that you should not be limited by your vision of 1 crore. You should think of 2,000 crore, 3,000 crore, or more than that. You should think of giving 1 crore package to someone rather than thinking of how you can get to 1 crore package, because then you will eventually get there, and then your growth will stop, right? And 1 crore in today's day, everyone does that. I mean, it's quite easy. Even YouTubers, TikTokers easily get to that 1 crore level. So you having been worked so hard over a period of years, you should be expecting a lot more than that. So don't get bogged down by this 1 crore package, or that should not be the criteria for starting a career in actuary. You should start your career in actuary, or you should work in actuary because you'd be knowledgeable, and this is the best financial certification as per me that is available in the entire world. And if you do that, you'll be you have a lot of knowledge, and you can improve your knowledge to become the best in the world in the financial area. So why not target that? Because if you can do that, remaining things will follow, right? So if you have a different mindset, which you'd be able to, like, if you are sitting in a room where 10 people are sitting, if you have a different mindset, in 30 minutes you'd be able to showcase that without shouting at the top of your voice that I'm different. If you are doing that, then you are actually not different. But if you are not doing that, but the people who are observing you, then if you have a different mindset, those people who are observing you, they would understand that you have a different mindset, because that's the aura of that person. So don't start actually because of package. Work for knowledge, thrive on knowledge, improve your knowledge, and one day you'll get there. And knowledge on does not only mean the technical knowledge, the remaining part as well. So I think yeah, that's what I wanted to say. If you like this video, please hit the like button, please hit the bell icon, please subscribe to my channel, and thanks for watching. And interview series will continue. It will be uploaded uh, up to, I think, 10 episode would be there, and this is the only the episode number 3. So next would be commonly asked questions in life insurance. So stay tuned for that. It will be uploaded in the next weekend. Thanks for watching, and please subscribe to my channel, and see you in future videos.